No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Winnipeg, good evening, Kentucky. And for all those joining us wherever you may be tuning in from, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show with Dave Manouk, with Ezra Ginsburg. I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to discuss another Winnipeg Jets victory, this one by a 4-2 margin over the Ottawa Senators. For a while in the course of tonight's contest, it did not look like this was going to be the result that was going to come the way it did, but the Winnipeg Jets stuck with it. And a couple of dominant shifts by the line of Scheifele and Connor and Velarde, in particular Scheifele and Connor, ultimately results in the 4-2 victory. Gentlemen, great to see both of you on this Saturday night. It's been a while since the three of us have been back together for a show, so I hope all has been well with the two of you. It's nice to be back together on this Saturday night to talk about the Winnipeg Jets victorious over the Ottawa Senators.
Season's greetings, Mr. Kentucky. It's great to have you back. It's great to have the triumvirate back. We're doing pretty well, except for the fact that, as I was mentioning to you right before we went live, and for anybody that was listening to this morning's show, I have a massive bruise on my left butt cheek from falling outside of my sister's house. So aside from that, I'm doing okay, but man, am I sore. I got to put some ice on it, I think, or do something, maybe a heating pad. I'm not really sure, but yeah, great to be back together. And as you mentioned, Drew, I mean, like this was not a dominant performance. Look, remember that chance by Thomas Chabot where Connor Hellebuck makes that glove save? Yeah. Timmy Stützle has a chance there late on the 6-on-5. Like, I agree with Garrett, what Garrett Hull put out on Twitter right after the game. Like, that was some shaky play with the extra man. I should say with one less man, because the Senators pulled their goalie, obviously, but the Senators came close to making that a one-goal game. And
it was not a game, to your point, Ezzy. Sorry, it was not a game where you ever felt that the Jets were in complete control. There's been some games as of late where even with a 2-goal lead, you knew, okay, this one was going to be fine. Ottawa still kept coming, and I thought that had they been able to crack Connor Hellebuck within the last 3, 4, 5 minutes of this game, it was going to be, obviously when it's a 1-goal game, anything can happen at that point in time. But the Jets needed Connor Hellebuck to step up big there in the latter moments of this game to keep it that 2-goal game, and he certainly did. Those 2 saves on Thomas Chabot were the ones you were just referencing there. The sort of back-to-back glove saves he made within the last couple minutes of this contest.
Yeah, and this is the type of game where people are going to remember, how well Scheifele, Connor, Velarde played. They're going to remember the Ehlers goal, obviously, but I think people should also remember that Hellebuck made that huge save. You remember in the second period, double minor, that save on Josh Norris. Remember that one? Even Gary Galley on the broadcast mentioned that one. He said, remember that save. And obviously Hellebuck didn't let any more goals in after allowing a couple of goals to put the Senators up 2-0, right? So Hellebuck was excellent tonight, as he usually is. I mean, I think, sometimes we get a little bit tired of saying that Hellebuck is excellent because he rarely has a bad game. And, Scheifele, Connor, Velarde were very good tonight. And I thought, the Jets power play obviously comes through big time after not converting on the first couple chances, right? So they were patient. They stuck to their game plan. I know it's cliche, but they go down 2 goals. I was texting you guys and I said, I'll pat myself on the back. I'll give myself a little Barry Horowitz here. I said the Jets were going to win this game 4-2 after they were down 2-0. I just got the feeling, like Drew said, I didn't feel like anybody had control of this game. Like I thought it was a very sleepy first period by the Jets. I'm not sure what they were talking about on the broadcast. They were saying this was an excellent first period. I thought it was a pretty sleepy first period, to be expected, right, boys? First game after the Christmas break, the boys have got some, turkey, and they've got some, chocolate in their bellies, but I thought they just got better and better as the game progressed, and obviously led by the Scheifele, Connor, Velarde line. And then Ehlers obviously got the insurance marker.
Yeah. The one big save I have to mention, though, is the Connor Hellebuck save with, it's a 2-0 game on the second penalty against Gabriel Velarde. And if he doesn't make that save.
Did you not hear Ezzy just say that?
No, I'm saying, but my point is that I'm not saying that I'm not saying otherwise, Drew, but I'm saying that's
Yeah.
the save of the game. That's the most
Sure.
important thing that happened, which is the reason why I was trying to get it in.
It keeps it 2-0. It's the save off of Josh Norris there.
Right.
It keeps it 2-0 as opposed to turning it 3-0.
Yeah.
I mean, you're absolutely right about that's where you needed him to stand, to be at his best. And that's what he does. That's what he's been doing for the Winnipeg Jets for so many years, Dave, is just preventing that third goal, that back-breaking goal from getting past them, to keep the Jets, keep them with the ability to strike back in this game. And then you just look at the goaltending matchup and you look at simplicity of that. You have Connor Hellebuck, who is excellent and making the key saves when he needs to. And then you have the Ottawa Senators and their third string goaltender in Mad Sogard, and the Jets were eventually able to take advantage of him to ultimately give them the 4-2 lead at the end of it all.
Absolutely. And, Kelly Rudy, I don't care what anybody says. I'm a huge Kelly Rudy fan. I think he's a great analyst, especially when it comes to goaltending. And he made the point during the second intermission. He said that, that's a goal, the Scheifele goal I'm talking about, the goal that tied it up 2-2. That's a goal, a save that Sogard has to make. Look, it's a nifty play, right? Like he's got Thomas Chabot. We'll get into the goal in the Play Now game recap, but he's all over him. But I agree with you, Drew. You could kind of see I don't know if you want to call it immaturity in his game at points. Mad Sogard, obviously he takes the tripping penalty on Scheifele because he was out of position, right?
Yeah, he's scrambly a lot.
Exactly. So, Sogard looked really good in the first period and to start the second period. And then kind of as the game progressed, you could kind of see he got a little bit less comfortable in the net. So clearly, going into this game, you would say that there was a big advantage in net for the Jets. And then as the game progressed, it just was confirmed, right? So again, the Jets got the job done. They got the 2 points, and you would look at the shots, and then you would look at the score, and they don't really match up. And it's because the Senators are a good team. And I mentioned this on this morning show. I'm not, a Senators fan particularly, but I hope they make the playoffs because they're a hard team to play against. You saw, Ridley Gregg going after, Adam Lowry with a nice body check there. Like they're a scrappy team. And I think they're a team, guys. I realize this is a Jets post-game show, but they're a team that I think are easy to cheer for.
Yeah, you're right. For when you see teams like that have had nothing but doldrums over the last, I'd say decade, it's got to be close to 10 years or, give or take, since the Ottawa Senators had anything to really celebrate. But
since the 2017, since the Erik Karlsson 2017, guys? Run? It's been a while. It's been a while.
7-8 years ago, whatever it was. It's definitely a long time ago. And so, yeah, I would agree with you, Ezzy. It's nice to see that they're finally being able to put everything together. I thought the Lowry line, they had the big matchup against Stützle and against Tkachuk, in the course of this game. And I thought they, handled them pretty well. You're never going to shut them down completely. But 5-on-5, I thought they did a pretty admirable job, Dave. Embracing that matchup. And the beauty of that is it frees up Scheifele and Connor and Velarde to do the damage that they did. There was a number of shifts. We know the goals that they scored, and we'll get into that in the Betway game recap here. The Play Now game recap. I'm a little rusty. I took the Saturday morning show off. The Play Now game recap. But then there was a number of shifts where they just controlled the play, and they were able to grind Ottawa down and take advantage of the matchup that they had. But Ottawa to me was certainly they had a very good effort. They're not a bad hockey team by any stretch of the imagination. They're going to be. I'd expect that they're going to be right in a tooth and nail until the final, until all 82 games are played this year.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and as referenced the Ross Levitan conversation we had on this morning show, but it's funny that Ottawa, even though they have the 8th best power play in the league, I don't think their power play is particularly good on the road, right? It's been a very good home power play, not so much.
I think Ross said 27th, Dave.
Yeah, and I think I think I saw someone from Ottawa who covers the Senators make some comment that it was like 15 or 16 straight power plays they hadn't scored on. So you knew that they were clearly struggling at 5-on-5 in tonight's game, but the special teams was good, and the Jets PK is one of the things I said in our final, in my comments on the post game recap on the website, is the fact that the Jets PK needs to be better, and we'll talk about that, of course, in the course of tonight's broadcast. But one of the things that you like to see from the Jets was that they just took advantage of an Ottawa team that is a little, I wouldn't say fragile because they're red hot. They're 8-2-0. They were making Matt Sogard a little bit, look better than he was, I thought, because the shots weren't particularly difficult in that first period. But again, like I said, you like getting back to the point you're asking me about, Drew, is I like the way the Lowry line came out against the Tkachuk line, really neutralized him, really got in his face, really kind of got him. You didn't really notice Brady Tkachuk in tonight's game. I mean, a couple of times I'll say
trying to put his helmet back on in the last couple of minutes of the third period.
Yeah, no, and that's what I mean. Like it's one of those things that it's like you don't get it doesn't show up on the score sheet other than not getting scored against. But I just like the way that they were able to control the play with against that line. And I haven't looked at the advanced stats to see what the numbers look like for the head-to-head matchup between those two lines. But like I said, it was an impressive effort by Adam Lowry, because it's not an easy task. I mean, one of the things that Ross mentioned as he on this morning show was how good Tim Stützle is, and you can see it. You can see how much talent that young man has, and we saw it on his power play marker. But to me, you can
he's
see
elusive.
He is. And
there's
so
some similarities to Kyle Connor, to be honest with you, in his game. Not stylistically, not the exact same player, but they're elusive. Like you hear this all the time, right? When
Connor's got an umlaut over one of the O's in his name, also.
Exactly. That's funny, Drew. But these guys they make getting open look easy, right? And there's just so much skill, high-end skill on display. So you're absolutely right. The Stützle, Tkachuk, Giroux line was very noticeable tonight. They were generating a lot of offense.
The clock is ringing, Ezzy. Must be 9:00 in Kentucky.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. Sorry.
9 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
It's 9 o'clock in Winnipeg. 10 o'clock in Kentucky. Yes, the clock is going off behind me. I figured for this post game show, I'd have it directly behind me. It's the last one we're going to be doing from here, so I want people to get their full value for the clock. And we're going to bring Scott Arneal in from the Matt Frost Media Center as soon as he's at the podium. This is the Play Now Illegal Curve post game show. Jets win 4-2 over the Ottawa Senators. We say good evening to everybody that's joining us tonight to talk about the game. I have to ask though, Dave, are you on a different camera angle? Is there something different about your angle than I'm used to? I know we haven't been on for about a week or so, but it just seems like your there you go. It was a little bit different angle than I'm used to, and it was throwing me off.
I was blocking the thing that says David's room, which I've had since I was like, I think 2 years old. So I mean, I'll try and.
I'm not saying that you had to.
I'm pretty sure my grandmother knitted that, so I got to, or not knitted it, but whatever, crocheted or whatever fancy thing she did. So I don't want to insult my baba, but
Dave, is that a bigger fire than normal?
It is not. But although I should mention, because I forgot, I didn't mention it on this morning show. 74th wedding anniversary for my grandparents this past week. So Mazel Tov to my baba Shirley and Zeta Sam.
That's wonderful. That is, I saw that you posted that on Twitter.
They only have Drew beat by about 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. That's any day now for me. I saw that. That is great. So yes, that's a great honor that should be applauded for sure. Anyways, I just noticed the camera angle, and it's the slightest things that you notice that was throwing me off a little bit. But however you want to keep it, it's your camera. You can do
the best is when people make like when Dave doesn't have the fire going. It literally makes like regular IC viewers uncomfortable. Like people are so used to the fire behind Dave that you can like light up the chat literally when Dave doesn't have the fire going, so it's pretty funny. But yes, the clock is looking majestic as always, Drew.
Yeah, we're still waiting for Scott Arneal to join us here on the post-game show. What to me, the first period, and I agree, I thought the Jets, it took Ottawa 10 minutes to get their first shot, and that came on that first power play. So the Jets, to me, you talk about the power play, you want to build momentum off the power play. And obviously the Jets got back to it later on in the game-winning goal being the power play goal. But that first power play that the Jets had when who was it? Was it Nick Jensen? Nick Jensen trips Adam Lowry early in the game. And that power play for the Jets was just so bad. It was one of those momentum-sapping power plays. You had Kyle Connor and Josh Morrissey running into each other, that leading to the Shane Pinto shorthanded opportunity. And then Pionk has to trip Pinto, or doesn't have to trip him, but he trips him after he dives to poke the puck away. That was sort of to to me, that was where the momentum and the energy in that first period flipped. I thought the Jets were the better of the two teams in the first 5, 7, 10 minutes of the game, but after that lousy power play opportunity for the Jets in the first, I thought Ottawa was the better of the two teams really for the next for the rest of the first period, certainly, and a lot of the second, until the Jets were able to get their 2 goals and tie it up.
The Jets had one shot in the second, Ezzy, for the longest time. I mean, I think
it was just there was just
like 6-1 at one point.
There was just barely any sustained pressure. Like it was just like in and out, dump the puck in, and then obviously in the second period, I thought that they fed off of. Remember, Tyler Clevin had that high sticking penalty on Ehlers. They didn't score on that power play, but I thought they had a lot of good looks. Right, I remember Connor had a decent scoring chance, and they were moving the puck well. And that's when I thought the game started to turn, kind of around the midway mark of the second period, right? And look, good teams can do that, right? Like good teams can put in a half of a good game and win the hockey game, and really that's what happened here tonight. And obviously, the Velarde power play goal, is huge, and we're getting used to the Jets scoring a power play goal. Well, we have been the whole year, not recently, but again, and you can't forget Hellebuck's big saves that he makes. Whether you want to point to the Josh Norris chance, whether you want to point to the Thomas Chabot chance. I think there was about 4.5, 5 minutes left in the third period. That makes it a 1-goal game, guys. Then we might be talking about a different result. That game maybe goes to extra time, right? So Hellebuck was excellent, but at the end of the day, you get the clean 2 points against a rival that's, a team that's not a rival, not in your conference, and that's really all that matters at the end of the day.
Well, what really you have, I think, also is, in the course of tonight's game. I mean, look, if the Jets end up losing this game, what's the topic of conversation? It's the first 2 goals and Logan Stanley's play on those first 2 goals. Now, that obviously
he certainly didn't look good, Drew. I mean, he looked a little bit like he was in no man's land.
Right, and so that'll be a subplot.
Actually, as we call it, it's a no stand zone.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's clever, Dave.
I tested it out in the folks in the press box first.
Oh,
they all liked it, so I was like, okay, I'll use it. I'll use it on the post game show.
You're testing your material with the press box crowd to bring to the post game show. That's smart. That's like the open mic is the press box, and this is the main event. I appreciate that, but I mean, and that'll be a subplot, and that'll be something obviously worth discussing when we get into the Play Now game recap. But I think what's evident is that the Jets need to find a left side defenseman, because I don't know that Ville Heinola or Logan Stanley at this point.
Hey, Drew, I have an idea. Why don't you play Heinola on his left side?
Well, that's
what I mean.
It seems like they're just trying to keep their heads above water until they can get Dylan Sandberg back into the lineup. But I know you guys spent a lot of time discussing this on this morning's show. The Hayden Fleury obviously out of the lineup on a week-to-week basis. And, if you told me at the beginning of the year missing Hayden Fleury was going to cause this amount of chaos to the Jets defense, it's hard to sort of believe that would be the case. But you see that it's clearly got to be, you got to get Dylan Sandberg back, and then you got to figure out something more definitive, I would say, on that left side on your third pairing. Colin Miller is, he's playing off his offside as well.
He's great tonight.
He's consistent. That's what you want to say. I mean, and sometimes when you're talking about, a defenseman like that, here's Scott Arneal. We'll continue this after.
You guys dug yourself out of a 2-0 hole and ended up taking over the game in a pretty big way. How did you do it? What was the change?
Yeah, kind of a little different game. Obviously, I liked our start. Their first 6 or 7 minutes until our power play, their power play, and then they scored. Then they kind of took over the rest of that first, and we got going again in the second, and there was some little bit of kind of up and down there. They scored again on their power play, but the big thing for me in the third, we had a big kill. Obviously, they had scored 2, but we went out and had a huge kill there, and then 2 minutes later, our power play got a chance to go out and scored, and obviously really got ourselves going, but in that third anyways, and then Fly got that one. But you know what, we've done it before. We've been down and kind of stick with what we were doing. We knew our forecheck, if we got on it, we were going to have, we were going to get opportunities, and saw it with Scheif's line. They went out and did it. Obviously on the first goal, us getting in and hounding them, making the plays, Casey finding that hole in the high slot. The next one was a real nice play by Fly there, tipping that into Scheif on the speed. So, just staying in the game more than anything. And I just thought our second period was real good after, not really being at our best for the whole 20 in the first.
Shifley said that it was really key to sort of stick to the way that you guys have been playing, not get away from it. And he and a lot of the big guns made those big plays. So how did they do it? Why is it so important to stick to your style?
Well, I think that's one of the things that this group has really grown over the last few years, is that as we get down 2, we don't panic, we don't start cheating, we don't start trying to do things that are away from sort of our structure, and we kind of stick to what we do best. And our offense always comes from that. And we just it was try to stay at what we were doing, get Ottawa to make a mistake, and they did, and we capitalized. Once we got the first, crowd got into it, kind of changed our bench, kind of got going. It was really, we had some guys that didn't play a whole lot with all the power plays kind of on both sides, and so it really got us back into kind of a rhythm, and we got going, and it was a real solid second.
You credited the big kill that you guys got at the end. I don't know how open you are to sort of breaking down the 2 that went in. It seemed like maybe it had been, great Ottawa plays, but maybe a bit easier than you'd like it to be for them as well.
Yeah, we kind of got obviously in the first one there. We got caught. It was a bang play, kind of like what we did to them on our power play goal, that low play, and that you have to be ready for that. Or obviously those low plays, you got to be down and take that ice away. Second one, that was a quick shot. I don't know if everybody was expecting that to come, and I don't think that Helly even saw any of that as it came in. But they weren't. You don't want to give up goals, obviously, but that's a pretty dangerous power play over there too. And they had some looks, and like I said, at the end of the day, it's all about timing. And the timing for us, we had a kill at the right time in the third period, and that was the big difference.
And then on the flip side, Scott, how's your power play continue to add wrinkles and be so effective?
I think obviously when Davis, we talk a lot about sort of, there's certain things that we've talked at the very start of the year about what we always wanted to do, and whether that was face-off, retrievals or entries, and, our attack mentality. The one thing we got to see is kind of how they were killing. Even though we looked at them from their last few games, we saw it live on the first few, and that kind of set up what we wanted to do on the next 2. And, when Fly got that chance down the goal line to jam it a couple of times, that kind of opened up some stuff for us, and then the same play opened up and the back door was there. So it's just kind of those guys also recognizing, when the opposition is in certain spots, it's open a hole. It's 5 against 4. It's opening up a spot somewhere, and that's what these guys have done a great job of finding those holes.
And what do you think the way D handled things, playing without Hayden today and without Dylan still?
Yeah, there's obviously Stan coming back. Being out, not having a whole lot of practice time. Villy we had to up his minutes, and Millsy as well. And our big 3 there, those guys have been great. And obviously P saw a lot of different partners tonight, and just kind of that's part of what we had talked about all year long, trying to get these guys all in situations so that when you run into these difficult times with injuries, that these guys have played and they feel comfortable going into the end playing.
Scott, I just want to ask about Nikolai Ehlers. It seemed as though he was skating really well and generating a lot with his speed, and then on his goal was just kind of gliding, and everyone kind of backed up. Is that kind of an example of the threat of speed sometimes being just as good as flying down the road?
Yeah, for sure. He's a guy, when the opposition defense see him coming, they're not real keen on keeping a tight gap. They don't want to get embarrassed by getting beat wide, and when he does it enough, when he does it consistently, exactly all of a sudden kind of the sea parted there, and he had the big wide open sort of ice to get inside the blue line and to get even closer to the goalie. So his speed is a weapon, and when he uses it, it really is so effective for us.
And on the top line, over the last month or so, they've maybe been even in shot attempt metrics, but they've been out chancing their opponents and scoring a lot of goals. Is the emphasis for that line to hold on to the puck a lot like you saw in Kyle Connor's first goal and maybe wait for that high danger chance to pop up rather than throwing a low danger chance on that?
I think there's a little bit of mix of who we're playing against in the sense of how they defend. When we see man-on-man teams, there's a different look that we kind of throw. We saw tonight this is a center release team, so there's some gaps that open and there's some holes that happen, so you have to move, you have to puck support, and then you got to get there's going to be an opening, and that's exactly what happened on Casey's goal. We found that hole. So those guys, they're pretty, their hockey sense, their ability to kind of see what's in front of them and what's being sort of presented to them by the other team, how they're trying to defend us. That's what they do so well. They do a great job of close support. Gabe does a great job of being around the net front that distracts probably the goaltender and probably a defenseman. And Casey and Scheif, they get on the move there. They do a pretty good job when they're cycling and finding open lanes.
Maybe you said everything there, but I was thinking Tavares talked about that line being, as elite as anyone in the league. Scheif's got more goals this month than anyone else in the league. They're way high up there in points. So just an opportunity wanted to offer you to kind of wax poetic about the weapon that you have with that top line.
Nope,
and where
not talking about them. Nobody knows about them. I'm keeping it nice and quiet. No, but we'll sit in here, and if we're going to play Colorado in a couple of games there, we're going to talk about McKinnon and those guys, that line, McDavid, especially when Draisaitl's playing there. There's some big lines. Matthews, when him and when he's on his line, there's some great lines around this league, and he takes an awful lot of focus. The opposition pays a lot of attention to him, and now these guys are obviously going to get even more attention, but they've been pretty consistent for me, in my opinion. From the start of the season to where we are now, they've had some success over the last couple of years, but now they've really put it together. And certainly having Gabe healthy, playing all these games, and just the being in sync like they are, you can see it that they read off each other so well. It's kind of the last point there, being able to find holes, find those spot plays that create those opportunities.
Yeah. We look back, we've been covering this team for a long time. I know you weren't here, but Scheif and Connor back with Wheeler in those days, it kind of felt like that was the peak of what they were going to be. But you just talked about them kind of reaching that next level. I asked Mark about it before the game, but as a coach, do you see something that from them this year, that you were here the last 2 years, that you've seen them kind of just shoot off into the stratosphere this year? Well,
the big thing we talked about, and I've talked to you guys about, is their buy-in to playing without the puck. But the big thing that they recognize is that the other coaches are playing their other team's top line against them. It isn't just they're defending; they're the best defensive team. The best defensive line. They're going head to head with their elite players against them, and that's kind of been my kind of challenge to them. Okay, here you go. Now you're not just seeing Adam Lowry every shift. You're seeing the other team's top line. Now you got to go be better than them, because if you don't, they're going to be scoring against you. They're going to get opportunities against you, and that's kind of the buy-in, is they're recognizing if it's tonight, whoever they're matching up against, if they're better than they are defending, they're going to have the puck more, and that whatever that top line is, they're going to have to spend time in their end of the rink. And for me, you love to see that. You love to see when your top line is going head to head and you're making them defend all night, and those guys are getting chances. Scheif, Casey, Gabe are getting chances offensively. Thanks. Guys.
There he goes, Jets head coach Scott Arniel, this evening from the Matt Frost Media Center, where the Winnipeg Jets defeated the Ottawa Senators 4-2. They were down 2-0 early in the second period, scored 4 unanswered goals to come all the way back. Their 13th comeback win so far this season, the third by 2 goals or more. So the Jets certainly were able to get back into tonight's contest. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. It's the Illegal Curve post-game show presented by Play Now.
I guess Kenny and Rennie hasn't started yet, right, boys?
No, Sean's still in there. Sean and Ken were doing the media there, so Kenny and Rennie will start in a little while. But for now, you're with us here on the Illegal Curve post-game show, and this is the right spot to be as we get into the nitty-gritty details of tonight's game. It's the Play Now game recap.
The Play Now game recap.
Big thanks to our friends at Play Now for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show and, of course, the Illegal Curve hockey show. Learn to bet with Play Now, the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Sign up and get up to $250 in bonus bets. Conditions apply, 18+. Please enjoy responsibly. As we mentioned, the Jets had an early power play opportunity. They weren't able to capitalize on it. It was more of a Keystone Cops power play than it was a successful one, which is rare, of course, given how good their power play play has been this year. The Ottawa Senators then get a power play. This is with Neil Pionk in the box. He's in the box for tripping, and it's Tim Stützle getting his 12th of the year. A great pass by Drake Batherson, Brady Tkachuk getting the secondary assist on it. And two things can be true on this one goal, as it can be an exquisite passing play by the Senators, and you can also not like how the Jets defense and how their penalty kill, and unfortunately, because I know he's been a target, how Logan Stanley plays this one as he's sort of stuck in no man's land and doesn't get across to prevent the seam pass from getting through him. And you could see the exasperation on his face after the puck ended up behind Connor Hellebuck.
Yeah, I think, there's definitely, some blame to go around here. Like Timmy Stützle comes off of the right point, and it's just too easy for him to receive that pass from Drake Batherson. So yeah, Logan Stanley doesn't do a very good job of cutting it, that pass. I just thought the Jets were a little bit too scrunched together in the middle of the ice, and there was just too much room here. Because what Stützle does is he kind of just does a little bit. He decides, I'm going to kind of just. I'm over by the face-off circle. I'm just going to kind of go to the net here because there's all this time and space. So I just thought that the Jets didn't do a very good job of basically spreading out their penalty killers here. And again, Logan Stanley, sure, he's kind of in a position where he's not really in a position. Yeah. And so I just didn't like overall how the Jets played this penalty kill. I just didn't think. Look. The Senators have dangerous weapons, regardless, as Dave mentioned earlier, if the Senators power play has been struggling on the road, there's a lot of dangerous weapons there. Stützle, Jake Sanderson, Batherson, Brady Tkachuk. I just thought, and again, there's a lot of blame to go around. I thought, just looking at the replay here, Rasmus Kupari, he's a little bit he's in the middle position, but he's not really covering anybody, right? So just overall, it wasn't a well-executed penalty kill.
No, it certainly wasn't, Dave, and that's as a result the Ottawa Senators get the 1-0 lead. And really, they had a lot of the control of the first period after that 10-minute mark, which is when they got their first shot on goal. That's when they were able to then take advantage and capitalize to get the 1-0 lead after 20 minutes. The Jets were sort of, I would say, absent from the back half of that first period. And unfortunately for the Winnipeg Jets, it continued into the second period. They take the penalty. It's the Gabe Vilardi gets called for the double minor. This at the 2.5-minute mark, just right around there. 2.5 minutes into the second period, Gabe Vilardi gets called for the double minor.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah, please, by all means.
I mean, I realize it's a penalty, guys, but when your stick is lifted into another player's face, is that your fault? What are you really supposed to be
in control? You have to be in control of your stick at all times.
You know what I mean, right, Drew? It's
you're on
just
mute, Dave.
Yeah, Gabe. I think Dave's trying to get in here, but you could even see the frustration on Vilardi's face. He's saying, and even Scott Arniel on the bench was saying, his stick was lifted into his face, right? So all I'm saying is that it is a penalty. It's just kind of frustrating. Who was it? Was it Jake Sanderson that he high sticked? Anyways. Yeah. I thought that was unfortunate. And then the thing, Dave, to rub salt in the wound, who's out there on the power play right after? Jake Sanderson, right?
Yeah. But the other thing also worth mentioning is that neither referee called the penalty.
Yeah,
it was actually the linesman who called the penalty, which of course they can do. But it was just funny because I was I'm watching it in live, and hockey's a fast game, and I'm like, ooh, and Sanderson's head whipped back pretty aggressively, so I was like, it looked bad. But, again, like I said, you have to have control of his stick. And there could have been a hooking call. I agree with CMAC, just before that play. But ultimately, there isn't. They reviewed it. And then sure enough, it's a double minor against the Jets.
Yeah. And the Ottawa Senators took advantage of that double minor, getting their second power play goal. It's funny. I mean, they talked about it on the broadcast. The Sens had the worst road power play in the entire NHL coming into tonight's game. And they capitalize early on the power play. Isn't that always how it happens, though? the Jets penalty kill had started to look a little bit better as well before the Christmas break, moving up to it had entered the game 18th in the NHL. So they were inching towards the top half of the league. Tonight's results won't do them any favors, but they certainly had signs of improvement for the penalty kill, except for the start of the power penalty kills tonight. Ridley Gregg gets his fourth of the year, a nice tip assist to Thomas Chabot and Claude Giroux. I like how Chabot just gets the puck through, and Gregg, his stick is not being tied up, and he's able to deflect it past Connor Hellebuck as a result. I just sort of like the simplicity that the Ottawa Senators demonstrate on this goal, Dave.
Well, he was able to deflect it in because there was a giant gap between him and Logan Stanley for some inexplicable reason. I mean, if you're Logan Stanley, you have one responsibility: either clear the front of the net or remove, by doing that, you move Ridley Gregg out of the way. You're 6'7", which we always hear. You outweigh Gregg, I would imagine, by a fairly sizable margin. And to allow, to have that much of a gap is, again, why, Logan Stanley is there, we're told, to be a penalty killer. But he's just a killer for the Jets on the power play, on the penalty kill right now, because both of them, and I know you guys went over the first one, and there were other guys who were guilty of infractions on the first power play goal against. But to me, I don't understand how a fairly routine shot. It's a nice tip by Gregg. You got to credit him. But it's again, there's nothing that is preventing him from doing that. He's got no opposition. He is taken up that real estate. Logan Stanley, what are you defending against if you're Logan Stanley? There's nobody else in the region, so you've just got one responsibility, and that's to move Gregg out of there, or at least tie him up so he can't get that shot, can't deflect that shot. You don't, and like I said, he's with them. That's the weirdest part, right? He's with them, and then he backs off to give him that gap.
Well, he actually shoves him a little.
That's
bit,
what I mean.
Almost into a better position to tip that puck. The second power play goal, if this is gonna be the Logan Stanley hour, I mean, to me, the second goal bothers me more than the first goal.
Absolutely, I agree.
The first goal, Tim Stützle, way too much time and space. Again, I'd have to go back and look at, but it looks like to me, Rasmus Kupari is the center penalty killing there. To me, it looks like he's, whether it's him or I think was it Nemesnikov, who he was out there with on the first goal. Somebody needed to be covering Stützle. Stützle is the most dangerous player on the Senators, and I realize that Stanley is in a position where he could have cut the pass off from Batherson. But the second goal, to me, that entire goal is almost on Stanley, right? Like you said, Dave, you got to be tighter there. You got to be tying his stick up. You can't just be kind of pushing him a little bit out so he's not it was just loose defensive coverage is what it was there from Logan Stanley. And I hate that we're picking on him again, but he's on the ice for both of these penalty killing goals. Both these power play goals, I should say, right? So again, I strongly believe that, I think most people agree, if Dylan Samberg and Hayden Fleury are healthy, Logan Stanley's not in the top six. And right now he's in the top six and he's getting exposed.
Sometimes it can be that simple. 2-0 at this point in time for the Ottawa Senators. And then from here on out, folks, don't worry. There's no more negative Nellies on that from here on out. You can revel. I know lots of people don't like when we go goal by goal and we do the honest assessment. And our apologies for the lack of it always being Pollyanna, and instead we have to tell the truth a little bit. But from here on out, it's good things for the Winnipeg Jets, and it starts with Kyle Connor at the 12:46 mark of the second period. He cuts the deficit from 2-1, getting his 22nd goal of the year. Mark Scheifele getting the assist. It's just a beautiful play by Mark Scheifele, and you see his creativity on display. He uses the end boards to give himself some time and space to get away from Jacob Bernard Docker, who's really covering him. And Bernard Docker is still a young player in this league, and Scheifele's ingenuity is on display here. He uses that to shed the defender. He gets the puck, and he finds Kyle Connor, who's left all alone in the slot, and a beautiful pass by Scheifele, a great shot by Kyle Connor, and it's a 2-1 game at this point in time. You love the creativity and the intelligence that's on display on this goal, Ezzy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're using the proper words right now. The ingenuity, creativity by Mark Scheifele. Dave M pointed it out on X, And again, right, like if we're going to criticize the Jets coverage, you know, we're going to have to criticize the Senators coverage, because Kyle Connor again is just left wide open. And I'm not sure, you know, who he's supposed to cover there. I'm not sure the Senators knew who he was supposed to cover, but you know, he's left just wide open. But yeah, it's again Scheifele making a beautiful play and a mismatch. Tyler Clevin and Jacob Bernard-Docker. That's the third pair for the Senators. So that's a mismatch. It's the Josh Norris line out there. I think it might have been Cole Reinhardt who should have had Connor there, but regardless, Kyle Connor he finds the open space. It's easy for us to say that the Senators should have had somebody covering Kyle Connor, but that was obvious on that play. Scheifele puts it right on his stick.
Yeah.
Jets are back in the game.
Yeah, that's all it takes, Dave. It didn't take long for them to just find that soft opportunity and then take advantage of it.
Well, and the only thing I would add is that, you know, the Sens are all kind of, we talk about guys puck watching. There was a lot of puck watching, and you've got to credit, like I said, Mark Scheifele. And it's not just Mark Scheifele. I noticed that quite a number of guys in today's game as we're doing almost like self passes. Nikolai Ehlers did it later in the game. Scheifele did it a couple of times. Like, really sort of, when, you know, kind of defying what the expectation is. So if guys are looking over there and you're going, you know, they're thinking you're making an outlet pass, and instead you do that. So to me, I really liked Mark Scheifele's play to himself, to find himself first. And then of course to get Kyle Connor that puck, and you give Kyle Connor that kind of time and space. Well, unfortunately for Matt Sodgaard, that broke his shutout bid and got the Jets back in that game.
Yeah, exactly right. Broke his shutout, but that's a good way of
At
putting
what
it.
point, boys, are we going to start talking about the fact that Connor and Scheifele are both on pace for 50 goals? Like, we could have the first ever double 50-goal scorers in Winnipeg Jets 2.0 history.
And as
cool.
they're on pace for just around 50, just short. I think 49 as of right now, but 49 goals each.
We'll round up, Dave. We'll round up to 50.
Well, I already did. I think it was like 48.9. But the point is that, you know, and they would both potentially eclipse the 100-point mark. But the interesting thing is, Scheifele had 25 goals in 74 games last year, and now he's up to 22 goals in, what is it, this was game 37.
Yeah,
it's almost like not making Team Canada has lit a spark under Scheifele.
Well, they've had these incredible. They both have had incredible months of December, and our buddy Connor Harabchuk has been documenting this well. And of course, it was great having Connor on all the shows that he did with us before Christmas here. But you know, that line, the Connor Scheifele whomever line, used to be, they still were losing. They were still giving up more than they were contributing. Now it's not even close. I mean, after the first, Connor, you'd have to look back at Connor's X feed. It's over the last 6 weeks or 8 weeks, whatever it is. That line is just eating up the opponents in terms of the goal differential at 5-on-5, which was not usually the case. I mean, we always heard, yes, they get, but they also give up at the same time. Now it's not even close. So this top line for the Winnipeg Jets is actually performing as a top line, and you can see how they are sowing their oats, and you can see how they're feeling just feeling great about themselves, and some of the creativity and some of the decision making, and just adding extra wrinkles into their game and into their know-how. And it's sort of interesting, you know, you talk about it at the beginning of the year. Remember the challenge that was laid down at the end of last season is, how do you find 10% more? How do you get 10% better? And I was a little skeptical that these guys who we've seen for so many years, and we've seen them for so long, that and they're not usually at the stages of their career where there is 10% more to be found at this point. I didn't know that they'd be able to do it. Well, Connor and Scheifele seem to have found that 10% more. And a lot of it is obviously in the defensive zone, because they're not as terrible as they used to be in the defensive zone, but it's also offensively that they're finding a way to get 10% more. You speak about Scheifele and Connor. Well, let's talk about Mark Scheifele's goal, his 22nd now. So he ties Kyle Connor. Nikolai Ehlers and Colin Miller get the assists on this one. This is the tying goal for the game. A goal that it's generally accepted that Mads Sogard wants back, but at the same time, it's generally accepted that Mads Sogard is a third-string goalie, so that's why he's a third-string goalie, is because goals like this can be let in by him or third-string goalies more often. Nick Jensen just flips the puck out of the Senators zone. He flips it right onto the stick of Colin Miller. The Senators had been hemmed in, and they were just trying to clear the pressure. The Jets quickly turn it up ice. Miller with a headmans it up to Nikolai Ehlers, and Ehlers with a real nifty one-touch pass to Scheifele, Dave, and Scheifele comes in on the backhand, and he just beats Sogard with it. It's not the best backhand shot. We know backhands can be tricky for goaltenders to pick up, but the Jets will gladly accept it as the 2-all goal to even this one up with about just under 5 minutes to go in the second period.
Well, and you just felt the momentum start to turn. Obviously, the Kyle Connor goal got the crowd back into it, but the Jets just started to wake up a little bit, to use a Kennyism. And I agree, Drew. Like you do like the past. It was very I don't want to say cheeky by Nikolai Ehlers, but it was kind of like a nice little chip to get ahead, and it kind of handcuffed Mark Scheifele. And I know they asked him about that. I didn't really see his response after the game. I think he said something like Adam Oates isn't going to be happy with how he received that pass. But yeah, I mean, there's a reason why Don Cherry for years has said that the backhand is the hardest one to stop for goaltenders. But just a nice play. And like I said, and like I said, when you watch the replay, it's an impressive one-handed pass by Ehlers, and yet Scheifele gets it up and over and makes it a 2-all game. You also got to remember, like, Mark Scheifele's feeling it, right? He's feeling good about his game. He's moving his legs, created that first goal for Kyle Connor, and he's a goal scorer. I mean, I know he hangs on to the puck and he's a good passer, but he also can find the back of the net, and he did that on that play.
Dave is speaking about that pass matter-of-factly, and even though he's giving it its due props, that is an insane pass by Nikolai Ehlers. It really is, because he's trying to get off the ice, right? Like, the Scheifele line is coming on for the Nemesnikov line, and I'm going to get a little bit more excited, as I usually do, Dave. I get a little bit more fired up when I see this, but like, I think you appreciate it more when you watch the replay, because it's a nice little outlet pass. Like, Colin Miller's back at the Jets blue line. He's a little bit patient, and Ehlers is right there, but he has the smarts, and you have to be strong to get that puck to Scheifele right on his stick. And I do think Sogard should have stopped this one. I really do. But again, I mean, Scheifele's a goal scorer. I mean, nobody's really putting the puck in the net like Scheifele and Connor are, over these last couple of weeks, right? So, I think Ehlers deserves a lot of credit. He was really good tonight. And let's not forget, guys, this is only Ehlers' fourth game back. Like, he hasn't been back for that long, and he's starting to look like the old Ehlers again, which is a very good sign for the Jets. And going back to what Drew said about the Scheifele Connor Velarde line, this is the best we've seen of them. They're not just scoring goals; they're outworking and outpossessing the opposition. They're not getting like that. That's going back to like Scheifele, Connor, Wheeler. The problem that line has had, it's not scoring goals, especially on the power play. It's been that they've got caught in their own zone, and then they start to either get caught, maybe a little bit tired, stay out there a little bit too long, coughing the puck up. But certainly tonight, this was peak Scheifele, Connor, Velarde, and just thought I would continue talking about that pass by Ehlers, because it really was a nifty play. And you're absolutely right, Dave. The momentum in this game completely turned after those two quick goals.
Yeah, so 2-all after 40 minutes between the Jets and the Senators. So time to start over. Whoever wins the third period is going to win the hockey game. The Senators have a golden opportunity, and Scott Arniel referenced it in his post-game comments that we had here on the Illegal Curve post-game show presented by Play Now. The Senators had that power play opportunity early in the third period, as I go to my second screen here. So Ville Heinola at the 5:44 mark of the third period takes that tripping penalty. This doesn't look good on Ville Heinola, this whole sequence.
I thought that was a weak penalty to take. I think he could have easily, he easily could, like, that was like a chop block. Like,
Ridley Gregg gets inside position on him, but Heinola, he should have enough poise that it didn't look like it had to be a penalty to be taken. Sometimes you have to take a penalty to prevent a scoring opportunity. This is one where I think he panicked, and you can't be doing that. I know that he's only had a short number of games at the NHL level, but I think these are some of the warts that people see in his game that you would hope that would eventually dissipate from it, but it hasn't as of yet. He takes the penalty here. The Senators get the power play opportunity, and the Jets get a huge kill. In fact, the Jets almost had a shorthanded goal on this one. Kyle Connor had some wizardry while shorthanded here, and he sets up Vlad Nemesnikov, and I don't know how Nemesnikov didn't in fact score on this one, but it would have been just an unbelievable primary assist from Kyle Connor. Instead, doesn't go in. The Senators, regain possession, and they have a fair bit of possession in the Jets zone on this power play opportunity. But the Jets do a good enough job. They kill it off, and then the Jets themselves get their own power play opportunity a few minutes later. It's after just a dominant shift by Scheifele, Velarde, and Connor, and they just have the Senators turned inside out, and they really don't have any other alternatives. It's just cycle after cycle after cycle, and it's at the 9:07 mark. So I guess a minute and let me do some quick math. A minute and 23 seconds after the Heinola penalty expires, the Senators take the penalty. It's Mad Sogard, his first ever penalty at the NHL level. He trips Scheifele. Scheifele at first didn't know that there was a call, and he was giving it to the ref until the ref said, hey, the back official called it, and the Jets get the power play opportunity as a result, and they make no mistake on the power play opportunity. Hang on, I'm about to sneeze here, so let me just go through it real quick. It's going to be Gabe Velarde, his 15th of the year. It's also going to double as our Seagram shot of the game.
The Seagram shot of the game.
Sorry, I'm fighting the flu.
Did we miss the sneeze there?
I managed to hold back the sneeze, so I was impressed by it. I stopped the sneeze. It's still on the cusp any minute now of coming. I'm fighting a flu.
Well, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's me too. I've been fighting it for the last couple of days, and I think
the old Kentucky flu.
Yep.
You know what it is. Whatever.
Too much Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's what it is, Drew.
That must be it. Exactly. In any event, I'm. That's why I sound a little bit hoarse, maybe, and a little bit quieter than normal. It's because the sinuses are all clogged up. But Gabe Velarde gets his 15th of the year. Assist Nikolai Ehlers and Kyle Connor, and it's just the Jets power play is a thing of beauty. I mean, it starts. The power play, Ehlers had an opportunity before this one where they're playing off of him and he walks out from the goal line and he gets a jam play opportunity. And it looks like it's almost a carbon copy of that. Instead, he slides it across to Velarde. After Morrissey and Connor have been playing catch up at the point, and then Connor feeds it down to Ehlers. Pick your poison with this Jets power play. I mean, there's a reason why it's the best power play in the NHL, why it's even better at home than it is overall, which is still an incredible number. And the Ottawa Senators get burnt. They don't take a lot of penalties in the course of this game. In fact, I think they only took they took 3 penalties in the course of the game, and they get burnt on it. The Jets power play, right around that 33% mark, and it was again tonight. And the Jets make it 3-2, which ends up being the game-winning goal, Ezzy.
Yeah, well, like Dave said on this morning show, I forgot if the Jets were first or if the Devils were first. They're both they're within a percentage, but then nobody else is within 5 or 6%. So the Jets and the Devils are pretty far ahead. The gap between first and second and third. But what I like here is, like you mentioned, there's a kind of a jam play by Ehlers there. But what I love, there's a few things. I love that Connor and Morrissey pass the puck about 4 or 5 times back and forth here. And that obviously Connor can rip the puck, but they're setting something up. But I love how Scheifele's in the bumper position. They can see that Scheifele's not open. He's covered. But you can tell that Morrissey and Connor both know who they want to go to. They want to go to Ehlers. And what they're doing is they're using Scheifele as a decoy. At least that's what I saw in this goal. And then obviously, Dave and I spent a segment talking about, what a future Gabe Velarde contract could look like. And this is exactly why I think, I would have no problem giving Velarde a long-term contract, not just because of what he can do on the power play, but in this particular case, in this season, I mean, he is just showing he's one of the most dangerous players in the league on the power play. Yeah. So again, just great execution. The Jets power play comes through again, like it has so many times this year.
Well, the only thing I would add is that you just love the movement and you love the speed and the pass. I mean, that pass by Ehlers is not like a slow one. It's not like that is, Velarde's hand eye is spectacular on that play. And Ehlers, I mean, he didn't have to do much. He has to be in the right spot, I guess, is what I'm saying. But, the movement is fantastic, and the Jets power play, it just looks, it's funny how sometimes it can look a little anemic, and then every once in a while, then you just see it, and you're like, that's the power play that you recognize, and that's the reason why, like you said, Ezzy, Andrew, it's the top power play in the NHL.
Yeah, 3-2 at that point in time. So this is just before the halfway mark of the third period. And then it takes the Jets all of a minute and 32 later to have the insurance marker. And the Ottawa Senators won't like how they played this when they look at the video review of it. But it's knowing your opponent and just being terrified of your opponent. And they're terrified of Nikolai Ehlers' speed here. And Nikolai Ehlers is really moving at slow motion for Ehlers when we've seen him at peak speed. This time they're just playing so far off of him because they know how dangerous he is. He's like, okay, I guess I don't have to go at peak speed. I'll just come over the blue line, a clean zone entry. You're playing so far deep in your own zone. I'll just walk into the middle of the ice and I'll fire it past your goaltender to give the Jets the 4-2 lead there. Secondary assist goes to Logan Stanley on this one, Dave.
Well, I mean, as the only nice thing about Drew having this flu, not that I wish him to have a flu, but we're getting very minimal Mendel, and we're getting a lot more. We're getting a lot more runway to have our say on these goals. But
the only problem is he's muted, and that grandfather clock could be going off again.
It won't be going off for 20 more minutes. But no, I mean, the fact is that first of all, there's a little countryman on countryman crime there, Ezzy, but. The fact is
maybe they'll go to Thermea and maybe reconcile after.
But you just like the fact that, like, again, this is another play where Ehlers does Ehlers things, and he just everybody, like, they back off way too aggressively, obviously, and you can't have four players. Like, there are four Senators in the vicinity of Nikolai Ehlers, and somehow he still has the time and space to give himself that opportunity. And his shot, we've talked about his passing, his shot is really wicked, and he just lets it go. Maybe you want Sogard to stop that, but
I thought this was a well-placed shot. I mean,
I think it was too.
We've seen him unleash some howitzers. This wasn't a howitzer to me. It was just a well-placed shot, just above the blocker. Just a really well-placed shot.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you, Drew. But it's kind of like the question Connor Harabchak, illegal curve writer extraordinaire, and of course occasional guest on this show, or participant, I should say, on one of our shows. But he said to Scott Arniel, like, that's the danger of Nikolai Ehlers, because you have to be so cognizant of his speed, and so when he's kind of gliding at that point, they're like, okay, well, he's less of a threat, but then he just does what he does, and he's just always a threat with that puck. So he puts the nail in the coffin of this one, and really the Jets just need to wrap it up at that point.
Just one last thing. Obviously the Senators just quite simply are backing up here, and they're giving Ehlers too much time and space. And like Drew said, this isn't necessarily Ehlers' greatest shot of all time, but it's a well-placed shot, and he can see that he's got the time and space, and he can see that he's got the a good opportunity blocker side on Sogard. But to me, again, Tyler Clevin and Jacob Bernard-Docker, that's the Senators' third pair. They're backing up, and you can see Clevin is motioning. It's the Pinto line that's out there. Pinto, Ridley Gregg, and Nick Cousins. So that's actually a pretty solid third line, to be honest with you. And what Tyler Clevin is hoping for is that someone is going to pick him up. But to me, like, just watching the replay, Tyler Clevin has got to step up and make a play there instead of just backing up and hoping that somebody else lifts Ehlers' stick from behind or something like that. But again, easy for me to watch the replay and pick it apart and say that, this guy should do this and this guy should do that.
That's what we do on the show.
Well, yeah, sure. But let's just give Nikolai Ehlers credit for having a hell of a game. 1 goal, 2 assists. He was fantastic tonight.
Yeah. Look, the Jets' big stars were fantastic. I mean, Josh Morrissey played, I believe, about 20. Hang on, let me find it. We're going to see a lot of Josh Morrissey over the next few games until the Jets can get.
And there was almost a little. There was Eddie Drew. There was almost a little problem when Kyle Connor and Josh Morrissey took each other out in the neutral zone. And I think it was on the power play, and they got their signals crossed.
Yeah, but in the first period, that was that first period power play where
there was a little malaise.
Well, Dave, there was another problem. Drew forgot to do this.
The Seager shot of the game.
Now, wait, I have a question. Are you saying
we'll give it to Nick Ehlers?
Are you saying because you thought that Ehlers' goal deserved one as well? Because he did give it to. I mean, it's interesting. Velarde's
Did we do it already?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot.
I was like,
Who did we give it
know
to?
I have the flu, but I'm pretty
Who
sure
did
I
we give it to?
pressed the button.
Shifley?
No, we gave it to Velarde.
Oh, okay. Really?
Although ironically, Velarde's is really more of a redirection than a shot.
Honestly,
It's
true.
not,
I'm
but it's a
sorry.
game-winning goal.
Maybe I'm the one who's got the flu. I don't know.
No, you're just a big dumb animal, Izzy. It's all good.
I was gonna say I could have sworn I pressed the button. It was when I was about to sneeze.
Well, it's
right,
funny because
all
when he
right,
did when Ez did that, I thought to myself, "Oh, okay. Well, I mean, it is a shot. It was a pretty good shot, a well placed shot, as Drew had said a few minutes ago. So maybe it's meriting a second one." But then when he said, "Drew, you forgot to do this," I was like, "You didn't forget,
Guys, I've
just
been
in
with my
addition to."
kids every single day for the last week, and it's holiday break, so you gotta. And I
Yeah,
had that fall.
I'm-
Let's not forget. I think I have post-concussion syndrome.
That's
So you
right.
guys got to give me.
He fell on his ass and it hurt his brain somehow. Actually, that makes a lot of sense for you. That would explain a lot over the last number of years.
My brain
If
hurts.
that was the case. In any event, 4-2 is the final for the Winnipeg Jets. Yeah, but he is our big dumb animal. You're absolutely right, Winnipeg Jets. So we wouldn't ever change that. 4-2, the Jets win over the Ottawa Senators tonight. They keep the good times rolling. That's 3 wins in a row for the Jets. Pardon me, going back to the victories over the Wild and the Toronto Maple Leafs. They are next in
5 of the
action.
last 6, Drew.
5 of the last 6. They got a back-to-back Monday home to the Nashville Predators. That's an Amazon Prime game. So if you're looking, you notice our buddy Dan Robertson is cheating on us the last
saw
couple
that.
games. Yeah.
He went back to his roots.
Yeah, he went back to his roots. He's doing a couple Habs games
Yeah.
Because I guess Brian Mudryk is off. He normally does the play-by-play for the Habs. And because
Doesn't Mudryk do the Spengler?
he must do the Spengler. Yeah, that would make sense. And because Dan didn't do tonight's game with it being Sportsnet and Monday's game being a Amazon Prime game, Dan went back to Montreal and has been doing a couple of Habs games instead. So
Well, if you're Dan, don't you think, well, maybe I'll just extend my holidays. I don't need to do more hockey games.
yeah, I'm sure he's a loyal company man to a company that has no loyalty. So that's a little bit ironic there, but nonetheless.
Drew, can I throw in one thing as well?
Sure.
Is it a little bit weird that they're advertising the Amazon Prime game on Rogers?
It's because they sub-licensed them from Rogers.
Oh, okay.
So they were originally Rogers games. Like this was Rogers. I think wasn't Monday hometown hockey, or I don't know.
It was something terrible.
It's just weird that they're like, watch this game on Amazon Prime while you're watching this game.
It's because
Rogers.
Amazon bought them from Rogers, so
Okay,
that's
that makes sense.
it's all part of the relationship
For the price of $1.
Yeah, basically.
The old Chris
anyway, so
Draper.
Monday's game is an Amazon Prime game, and then the Tuesday game is in Denver against the Avalanche. So that's the Monday-Tuesday portion of the schedule. It's actually a bit of a and then it's Thursday, so it's 3 and 4 nights, 4 and 6 nights for the Winnipeg Jets.
And don't forget, Drew, 2 Moose games as well. It's going to be a hell of a next few days.
There you go, Dave M. Good thing you're back in town. You got something to keep you busy with. In any event, we'll head to break and we'll come back. We'll wrap up tonight's show. Jets win 4-2. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. It's the Illegal Curve post-game show presented by Play Now. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime, visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in 2 unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue, Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
10 minutes before the top of the hour, welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg. Dave, I think we should be concerned, as he just asked us if we did the Seagram shot of the game or not.
No. I believe it's sarcasm, but
I'm joking. That was a joke. I was referencing his previous forgetting about it. But I thought it was pretty funny, though.
It's been a long day. Some of us had to do the Saturday morning show, Drew.
Yeah. You guys did a good job. I appreciate you guys filling in for me. I wasn't able to be there this morning. I heard you had a great time with Murat and had a great time with talking about the Ottawa Senators. It was a great show. I regret that I had
one of our
to
best shows actually ever.
Yeah,
people were saying, they're like, wow, this is one of the best shows ever, and Drew's not even here. So
that's usually what makes it a better show, is that you guys are there and I'm not, and everything runs very smoothly. So I understand that. I don't doubt it. Unfortunately, I'll be back next Saturday, and I'll be back on Monday and on Tuesday, of course, with the next couple editions of the Illegal Curve post-game show. But nonetheless, I appreciate you guys doing your thing without me.
I think I might actually go to the game on Monday because I don't have Amazon Prime, and I'm not going to get Amazon Prime just for one game. So I think I'm going to go to the Jets game in the press box with Dave M.
Yeah, Dave, look at you. You're gonna spend a little more quality time with Big Daddy there.
The only question is, will he come to my house after to do the post-game show or go back to his house?
Or Dave, will I remember there's a Jets game on Monday?
Good point, S.
His ass is still going to be.
I've still got my sense of humor, guys. So obviously, it's not that.
No, you're not wearing it. Yeah, exactly. You won't be able to remember to wear pants or anything, but you still got your sense of humor. Nikolai Ehlers in talking to Murat about the power play success. How often mid-game reads are key to the Jets' power play success. Quote, all the time. You study video before the game, but situations change all the time. One guy might be a step lower, a step higher, a step more to the left or right. It's different all the time. So when you get out there, you obviously want to get the power play going right away, but you also learn every single shift you go out there for the power play. So there you go, the Winnipeg Jets, or there's Nikolai Ehlers talking about how the power play adapts to the in-game actions of the opponent and how they read off of the opponent, and they learn things from each and every power play opportunity. And the Jets power play certainly struck when it needed to. After not being successful on their first 2 attempts, they're successful on their third and final one of the game, and it ends up being the game-winning goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, whatever the Jets are doing on the power play this year, keep doing it, right? Like we've talked about it. Drew's used these 3 words many times. Pick your poison. And that really is what's happening here. Gabe Vilardi obviously is extremely dangerous. Nikolai Ehlers is dangerous. You've also got Scheifele, Connor, and Morrissey who are dangerous, right? And then you put and if you've got Cole Perfetti out on the top power play unit, or you've got a second power play unit. It seems like the second power play unit, guys, is like an afterthought nowadays. Earlier in the season, they were contributing, but the first power play keeps scoring, right? So the first power play unit. So, not surprised based on what Ehlers is saying. Look, not only are these skilled players, guys, they're smart players, right? Like you can see that the way they're thinking the game. Like you could just, it's just a breath of fresh air this year, I would say, on the power play, because we've been doing the show almost 16 years. How many years in a row were we talking about the Jets struggling power play, right? And so obviously Davis Payne deserves a lot of credit. And it's fun to watch this year, and it continues to be, in addition to Connor Hellebuck and his play, and in addition to how well the Scheifele Connor Velarde line has played at 5-on-5, especially defensively, right, Dave? The power play is one of the biggest storylines, and obviously the penalty kill is not where they would like it to be. They allowed another 2 goals tonight, but I think they'll take the number 1 power play unit in the league all day long.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely I believe the Jets are scheduled to practice tomorrow in about 12 hours. So we'll have that coverage before the Moose game, of course, on a little site called illegalcurve.com. But there's no question. I mean, there's things that this team needs to work on, and the penalty kill is certainly one of them, because as Drew mentioned, it was inching up towards that midpoint of the NHL. And as we've indicated, you don't need to have a top 5 power penalty kill. It doesn't even have to be top 10. But not that you wouldn't want that, of course, but you need to be in that, even in the lower half. You could be 11th, 12th, whatever. But the fact is that, this being an area of concern, I mean, like I said, with and I'm not trying to be the anti-Logan Stanley, but, if your role is, a PK specialist, then you need to be more effective on the PK. So the team overall needs to be better, because it wasn't just him on that first goal, as Izzy illustrated on today's show. And there's just some things that they'll need to work on. So
I was going to say their opponent on Monday, the Nashville Predators, they have the top penalty kill in the NHL. So it'll be strength on strength on Monday when the Jets and the Predators do battle in downtown Winnipeg. The Jets and their dominant power play against the Predators and their dominant penalty kill. So that'll be a little bit of an interesting one. The Predators, having beaten the Jets in their only game so far this year, they handled the Jets on that Monday night back in November.
Game, right?
Back in November, fairly handily. I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to discuss it on this morning's show. Did you discuss the Mackenzie Blackwood contract extension at all?
Well, Drew, for the record, Ezzy, don't answer him, because if you're interested in that, you should
you can download the podcast.
Download the podcast.
I know.
Go to Spotify, go to iTunes. You can get it anywhere you want. You go to illegalcurve.com. You can listen on illegalcurve.com, and you can hear what Ezzy and I talked about. Even though, as he said, and I quote, we're not Avalanche lunch. We did in part discuss the Blackwood signing.
We did.
5-year deal.
As a Devils fan, who watched Blackwood, and obviously the Devils defense was not great, admittedly, in front of Blackwood. I was surprised, Drew. That's a lot of money to give him.
Well, and also, who are you negotiating against? You have what's the urgency to do it? He's been with your team for 4 games. Have you seen enough in 4 games that you want to commit 5 years and $5.4 million to him?
The only thing I'll say, Drew,
he's a journeyman goaltender. Oh, hang on, the clock is time.
Oh,
I can't hear it.
Yeah, it was very minimal.
Oh no, there it is. There it is. Now it's going off.
I'll be honest, I was stalling.
The hell of a show we got going on here, boy.
I was stalling to get to this last time, because I know it's the last time we're going to hear the chimes of the clock.
For 2024.
For 2024. So I wanted to get them on one last time. So the clock says Happy New Year to everybody, because I should be back in the home studio on Monday for Monday's post-game show. So one final time from the clock is really why I asked about the Mackenzie Blackwood comment.
Oh, Drew, you could have just asked why the Jets bought out Daniel Torgerson or put him on unconditional waivers to, terminate his contract. That would have been relevant to this show, but you chose not to, and that's fine. That's your prerogative. But for the second time in a month, Ezzy, second time almost in 2 weeks, the Jets put a player, a former draft pick, a 2020 second rounder on unconditional waivers. So I suspect Daniel Torgerson is going to be heading back. My suspicion is maybe the Swedish Hockey League.
Sweden, yeah.
Yeah, but we don't know yet.
That's what I read, yeah.
Yeah, so my suspicion is he'll sign somewhere there. I haven't seen where yet, but that's a look, and that happens. I know people were like, oh, the Jets could have drafted Brock Faber. Well, so could a lot of other teams.
I love when Jets fans say that.
Yeah,
they could have drafted Brock Faber.
Yeah, and I could be 6'4", but it didn't work out that way.
And if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle.
There you go. And on that,
which is weird, because Ezzy's aunt actually did have balls.
Unfortunately,
which is why he called her Uncle Auntie. Okay, this show's officially off the rails.
Okay, that's it. Good night, everybody. Thank you for
joining
joining
us.
us.
Drew.
Yeah, thank you for joining us on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Big thank you to the sponsors, this show, the Saturday show, the website. That's our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. Play Now, they're the title sponsor. Holt Dental, Boston Pizza, City Place, and Seagram's support these fine businesses because of
Drew,
their
you forgot
continued
Kleenex.
support. No, I have Kleenex here too.
No, he
Don't
meant
worry
as a
about
sponsor.
that. I know what he meant as a sponsor. We'll be back on Monday night. LegalCurve.com has got all your latest post-game show and all your audio and everything else that you need about the Winnipeg Jets. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. I'm going to go take some cold medicine. For Dave Manouk, for Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Until Monday night, I think post-game is going to be about 9:15 p.m. We wish you good night and good luck, and thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow at Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.